My name's Aidin Robbins. I'm a filmmaker. I do videos here on Adorama TV, and recently I did a documentary project all about melting glaciers in the Alps. This was a mountaineering project, so we were shooting in very unique conditions, very unique terrain, and photographing some unique and incredible landscapes. It was completely different from any other project I've ever taken on, and I learned a lot. So I want to share that with you today, the different challenges that came up while we were working on this, and how we managed them, and what went into shooting and editing this video. We had 1 week in the Alps to get a whole lot of footage. We worked with a local mountaineering guide to put together an itinerary that would allow us to get everything we needed, and also kept a detailed shot list throughout the shoot to keep track of what we needed to focus on checking off. That included lots of up-close footage of the impacts of climate change, places where glaciers have receded, meltwater lakes and streams, rock falls, but also the gear, setup, and process of mountaineering, and the beauty of these high alpine landscapes. From a distance, a glacier kind of just looks like a big chunk of ice, but up close, it's a complex landscape of lakes, streams, holes, canyons, and waterfalls. And it's constantly changing, so there are no maps or trails to follow. That presents some navigational challenges, but also some really cool photographic opportunities. And some glaciers have all of that, but are also covered by a layer of snow. To cross those, the three of us roped together. That way, if one of us fell through a crevasse or a hole, the other two could help stop their fall and hoist them out. So to get a shot, everyone had to stop. And to shoot footage of each other walking, we would have to find a safe place for one person to unrope and shoot back towards the other two. Some areas of the glaciers, like large crevasses or serac edges, are just too unstable to access on foot. So to photograph these, we hiked as close to the edge as we safely could, and then sent the drones over to capture up-close footage of those features. The ice is most stable in the morning, so we started shooting well before sunrise. Eric was shooting on a Sony A7S III, which can practically see in the dark, and I was using a Sigma 20mm f1.4 on my Lumix S5. We also used headlamps and these small Godox light panels to add accents and light some important subjects. Throughout this shoot, we spent the night in alpine huts, these remote, hostile type structures that got us really close to the glaciers. Some of the routes we took to get there were longer, more technical, and just more strenuous than the hikes we would normally do to shoot a video. And we were also carrying a lot of additional gear, like helmets, harnesses, crampons, and ice axes. We slimmed down our kits as much as possible, each of us only carrying 1 or 2 cameras and lenses, along with a drone and basic accessories. I also didn't carry a tripod, so any static shots you see in this video are just handheld with stabilization, and any time lapses you see are just balanced on a rock. All of our gear went inside of outdoor specific camera bags, in my case the Moment Mountain Light bag. These bags are more comfortable for longer, more difficult hikes, and include features for not just storing cameras, but backpacking and being outside. And since we were spending multiple days out in the mountains at a time, we made sure to carry plenty of extra power and storage for the various cameras we were using. While we were at one of the huts, we set up an interview with our guide Dave to share his perspective as someone who lives in these mountains and spends a lot of time navigating them. We had 2 different interview setups, one inside speaking a bit about Dave's history and how he got into mountaineering, and then a second one outside speaking more specifically about the mountains and glaciers. So that one we made sure to shoot with mountains and glaciers obvious in the background. The outdoor setup is lit only by natural light. We shot it in the late afternoon for some slightly better lighting conditions, and also sat behind a rock, which provided a bit of shade and softened out that light. And then for the indoor setup, we just sat next to a window as a key light and used one of these little Godox light panels as a subtle little fill light on the other side of his face, so that window light wasn't so harsh. Eric and I each shot a different angle for the interview so we could cut between them, both of which were shot handheld, and the audio is just coming straight out of a Rode VideoMic Pro on top of my camera. Not the most glamorous professional interview setup, but I think it worked. And then on Eric's second, tighter angle, we also had a few moments where he would rack focus between Dave's face and the glacier behind him, which ended up making for a pretty nice little moment in the edit. Eventually, I made it to the edit with 11 hours of selects and the rather daunting task of turning it into a 17-minute video. I structured the edit around my voiceover, splicing in sections from our interview with Dave to provide a local perspective, talk in detail about the process and dangers of mountaineering, and transition between sections. The story focuses heavily on history, so in addition to the footage we captured, I pulled in a lot of archival elements. Footage, photos, drawings, maps, newspaper articles, going back to like the 1800s. Music is a huge part of this edit. It guides the movement of the story and also informs a lot of the changes in tone as we transition between these beautiful landscapes and the threats facing them. Sound was also a big element, being used to convey the power and volatility of these landscapes. There's a lot of like wind noise in the background, as well as a lot of kind of rumbly sounds of rocks and ice crumbling and falling down. Ultimately, everything came together into a piece that I'm really, really happy with. So I hope you learned something watching it and enjoyed the film yourself. If you enjoyed this kind of look into how we made this project happen, be sure to subscribe to Adorama TV for thousands of other videos just like this one. I really hope you enjoyed watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.